All right, let's see if that works. Apologize, everyone. I think we're having connection issues on the stream. So we will start back up. See if anybody joins. So apologize for everybody that is, I think we're gonna get people joining back. I don't know what happened. I think it's one of the cell towers are out here. What's up, everybody? I'm not sure if I could see the comments now. Hey, Cosmo, is the chat working? Yes, I can see it now. That was weird, everybody. I apologize. I think one of the cell towers is here. Hey, Solo401 says 5. Sally says hello. What's up, Sally? Lady Orleans, what's going on? I don't know what happened. I think the internet went down. We ran into like a dead zone. Que pasa, amigo? That means what's up? Nada, not much. Hey, Sierra friend, what's up, pal? Yeah, I don't know what happened. I think we hit like a dead zone. Oh no. Champagne, what's up? Michelle, you hit a dead spot. Yes, we did. Solo401 says bad area. DJ, nice Spanish, Tom. Let's see if I know any Spanish. The only thing I know is like, hola, me llamo Tomás. ¿Cuántos años tienes? What else do I know? Feliz cumpleaños. That's about it, DJ. That's about it. So we're gonna come up on Madison Square Park. Hey, Michael DeCosta, what's going on? DJ says, wow, nice. So DJ, I took a Spanish class in college, and the only thing that I knew how to say was, I would just know how to ask to go to the bathroom. I would say, maestro, puedo ir al baño, por favor. Yo necesito ir al baño. That's all, the only thing I would say, and then I would get up and go to the bathroom. But that's really the only thing I know. But I want to learn Spanish. I'm in the process of learning both Spanish and Korean. So hopefully over the next couple of years, I'll be fluent in Korean as well as Spanish. The Magic says, were you born in New York City? I am from Long Island, New York, which is in Nassau County. Long Island. Zap Allen says, Tom, what do you think about mutual funds? That's all I have right now. Yeah, I don't think mutual funds are bad. I think they're good, but you have to make sure that the mutual funds you're invested in have extremely, extremely low expense ratios. They're called expense ratios. So you should look to have a mutual fund that's charging well under 1.5% as a management fee. Do you know, Zap Allen, what the expense ratios of your mutual funds are? So now we're in Madison Square Park. And everybody, this is an investment advice. We're just talking about, whoa, there's a guy. We're just talking about, Cosmo says, do you think Fidelity is a good broker? Yeah, absolutely. Cosmo, yeah. It's one of the largest asset managers on planet Earth. I think it's great. Yeah, Zap Allen, so that's very important, right? So a lot of people, most people don't know what they're invested in. But the biggest thing, so there's a guy by the name of Jack Bogle, and he is the founder and CEO of the Vanguard Group. the Vanguard Group. And Jack Bogle essentially exposed all of the unbelievable obscene fees on Wall Street in the mutual fund industry. So back in the day, when you would invest into a mutual fund, there would be something called a load fee, LOAD fee. So if you had $10,000 to invest into a mutual fund, the mutual fund would take 5% as your front load fee, and it would take 5% as your back end load fee if you went to sell the mutual fund. And that's crazy. That's unbelievable fee income. And a lot of people don't realize this about Wall Street, is that big portfolio managers, asset managers want to grow their AUM, right? That's the main goal of any big asset manager on Wall Street. They want to grow the size of their assets because they take management fees, so they want to grow their fee income. So if they're taking 2% a year and also charging you 5% on a front load fee and a back load fee, that's unbelievable. It's crazy. So Jack Bogle is essentially the founder of the Vanguard Group, which said, hey, look, we're not going to do any of that. We're going to make an index that tracks the S&P 500, and we're going to have an extremely low expense ratio so investors can buy the broad stock market, dollar cost average every week or every month or every pay period into the S&P 500, and we're not going to charge them these obscene fees. We're going to charge them less than 0.5%. So if you're investing in a mutual fund, make sure, hey, Fancy Face is here. What's up, Fancy Face? What's going on? If you're investing in a mutual fund, first make sure that their track record is good. Make sure the mutual fund manager has beat the market over the past 3, 5, and 10 years. And make sure their management fee is less, I would say less than 1.5%, in my opinion. I also thought about setting up a Roth IRA. Yeah, I think that's a great idea. Very important to do that. So studies have shown over time, it's going to sound crazy, but it's not really about the investments you make. It's about your time in the market. So if you just take a portion of your income and buy the S&P 500 and you hold it for your lifetime with dividends reinvested, you're going to be doing well. You're going to be doing really well. So it's not about timing the market. It's not about buying and selling stocks. It's about buying good companies and holding them forever, or so long as their stories and their fundamentals are still intact. So when people say just buy a stock and hold it forever, that's technically not true, because you could have bought General Electric in 1995, and yeah, you would have made money all the way up until 2008, but then General Electric as a company has pretty much rolled over and it's probably going to go out of business. If you look at its revenue growth, it's declining. If you look at its earnings growth, it's decelerating. So you want to buy a good business that is growing its EPS or earnings per share over time, and you want to maintain a watchful eye on those investments. You want to be on every single earnings call, because when you're on these earnings calls, you'll understand the health of the business. So if they're beating earnings and they're raising forward guidance, that's what you want to look for. Because if one quarter the company says, look, our earnings are decelerating, that may be a good time to sell the stock. But as long as the company's story is intact, you're fine. Zap balances, I remember how cheap Netflix stock was in 2007. Yeah. Yep. And if you pull up the fundamentals of Netflix and you look at their EPS, or their earnings per share, from 2007 until now, what you'll probably find out is they've grown their earnings at a compounded rate of probably 25% plus year over year. So this is my favorite view of the Empire State Building. And it's just starting to rain again. So I believe we are right near the Harry Potter store. the magic. I can only see the first part of your username, but you say wow. There's a beautiful view here. And this is the new Harry Potter store that everybody loves. I've actually never seen one movie of Harry Potter. I've never seen one. Fancy Face is Skate Bro. This might sound like a dumb question, but what do you think about Walmart stock? I think it's a good company. I can't advise you to purchase anything, but what I would do is I would look at Walmart and I would see what they earned last year in terms of their EPS, and then I would look at their projections of EPS for next year. And so one of the ways you could do this, and that I suggest, so any company that you own, any individual stock that you own, you should go to the investor relations page of the company. If you go to, like, let's say Walmart, right? So if you go to walmart.com, you can go to investor relations page of walmart.com. You could actually punch in your email address to receive a link to their conference call, to their earnings call. And that's one of the great things about free markets in America is transparency within accounting principles, right? So if I buy a share of Walmart, I am entitled to be on that earnings conference call. Just as a regular person, I don't even need to work on Wall Street. I could punch in my email on the investors relations page and actually listen in to all of the management team at Walmart. I could listen to the CEO, the CFO give their financials, right? So that's what I would do. But yes, Walmart is it's a staple. I would consider that a staple, like a Target. Like everybody's going to go to Walmart, everybody's going to go to Target. These things are monopolies. You're probably not going to generate as much alpha as you would with like a software name, but it's going to be a very stable, consistent earnings grower over time. So I think just depending on your risk tolerance. The Swan says, look at how spotless the streets are after the thunderstorm. Wow, yeah. That is a plus, and it's good for skateboarding too. It's to sort of wash everything away off the streets.
And I was like, listen, while he's doing that, I think it's worth calling him back.
Check out the architecture on this building. It's beautiful. East 20th and Broadway, really, really beautiful here. And it's just starting to rain again. Yes, Soho guys. So EPS, when I talk about EPS, I'm talking about earnings per share. So in the, what we were just talking about on the last stream, which was about 10 minutes ago, Zap Balance's true story. I worked with a lady who rented a house from Sam Walton's father when she was young. She said the father said he was worried Sam just opened up his first store. Wow. What about stocks in the airlines like Delta? No, I stay away from them. So Fancy Face. So one of my good pals, Jim Ropel, he's a hedge fund manager, and the name of his company is Ropel Capital Management. And if any of you guys want to look him up, you could just Google Jim Ropel. And one of the things he always says to me, he's like, because he runs Ropel Capital Management. He runs about $150 million now. At the beginning of last year, it was $100 million. And one of the things he says to me, whenever I, send him some of my ideas, like for analysis, he'll say, yeah, it's a good idea, but it's not the best. And we're in the business to look for the best ideas possible, right? And that's from a risk mitigation standpoint. So if you think about, let's say if you have just a theoretical amount of money, $100,000, and you say, I want to buy Delta Airlines. Do you really think that stock deserves your money, right? Based on all of the fundamental factors. Do you think that Delta Airlines is more disruptive than Amazon? Do you think that Delta Airlines is more disruptive than Google? Right? So essentially, what my friend would say, my friend Jim Ropel, he would say, anytime you're buying an individual stock, you're essentially telling all the other stocks on the market that you think they're a better company than them. And it got me thinking, that's an unbelievable way to think about things, because, Delta Airlines, their fundamentals aren't better than Google, right? I think they have negative earnings, and they needed to be bailed out by the government. So what an interesting thing. Hey, DJ says, bye, Tom. Take it easy, DJ from Chile. An interesting thing about the airlines, which I don't like, and here's a big issue that I have with them, is that during the coronavirus pandemic, they came crying to the government, which is the people, us, for a bailout. And, everybody in the public will say, well, we need to bail out the airlines. We can't let the airlines go out of business. But I say it's actually advantageous to let the airlines go out of business through Chapter 11, because if you understand what the C-suite at all of these airlines were doing, at United, at Southwest, is they had unbelievable amounts of free cash flow. But as we talked about earlier in the stream, we have to look at what they were doing with that free cash flow. And these companies were buying back shares of their own stock in droves, which left their balance sheet exposed in case if there was an economic downturn. So just like the coronavirus, there was an economic downturn, so a lot of these airline companies didn't have enough cash on their balance sheets to sustain themselves, to keep their employees employed, so they came crying to the government, which is you and me, for a bailout. So I'm not for having companies being reckless with their share repurchase programs only to increase the value of the employee stock options of the CFO, the CEO, and all the C-suite at all these big airline companies, because they're making millions of dollars. They've made unbelievable amounts of money this year, but they came crying to the public for a bailout. So that's why I don't like the airlines. Because if you look at the executive compensation of a lot of these companies across all sectors, their basic salaries actually aren't that high. So if you look at the CEO of any company out there, their basic salary is not that high, but where they really gas themselves is in their equity stock options, right? And what they do, a tool to make themselves more money, is they say, okay, let's say we have $60 million in excess cash on the balance sheet. What we're going to do is we're not going to return that value to shareholders in the form of a dividend, and we're not going to reinvest that money back into our business, and we're also not going to keep the cash on our balance sheet in case of a rainy day like the coronavirus. If God forbid, if something happens, we don't want to do that. We want to use that $60 million or 60 billion or whatever it is. I'm just making an example. And we want to buy our own shares of stock back to reduce the amount of shares on the marketplace, thus increasing our earnings per share and increasing the price of our equity stock options. And options are derivative products. So for every $1 move in the price of a common stock, your options are derivatives or derived from the value of the underlying share. So those are going to go up 300%, 400%. So all of the airline CEOs and the chief executive officer and the C-suite, they all made millions doing that. So they didn't give up any of their executive compensation to try to keep their employees employed. What they did is they came to the government for a bailout. And the government is just you and me, hardworking Americans. So that's why I don't respect them. That's why I don't respect them. And it was the same thing that happened in the 2008 financial crisis. Lehman Brothers, Bear Stearns, all of these people, they folded the companies into JP Morgan, and they made millions of dollars. And I'm not against stock share repurchase programs. I'm not. But when you make it egregious and you literally empty your entire cash balance on your balance sheet into stock options to gas the price of your stock, so you can make unbelievable amounts of money on your options, just because you're the CEO of the company, I'm not for that. That shouldn't be legal. But again, the majority of people in the American public don't know that. If you watch the news during the coronavirus pandemic, the only thing you heard is, oh, we have to bail out the airlines. These guys, they're such good people. But if you look at the C-suite, they spent all their money on stock repurchase programs. And the majority of their executive compensation was stock options. So what is that telling you? They want to make millions. Hey, Ali's here. Mustafa's here. What's up, Mustafa? What's up, Ali? Yeah, so I mean, me personally, I would never buy the airlines. It's just not like an innovative product. It's a commodity. Photos from around New York says I had never heard of the term C-suite until this stream. C-suite just means like if you're a C-level executive at the company. So like a chief executive officer or a chief financial officer, chief revenue officer. Sam says I said no to bailouts. I said no to bailouts too. I said no to bailouts in 2008. And in 2008, I was like 10 years old. I always thought that the bigger, the better the company, the more advantages you would have in investing into the stock. But I like with the airlines, it doesn't work like that. No, fancy face. I think the point I'm trying to make is when I make an investment, I want to invest into a disruptive product or service, right? I guess you can consider airfare like a commodity, right? What's the difference between Delta and Southwest? They do the same thing. They get you from point A to point B. So if you want to look for growth, how is the company going to grow? I mean, they only ring the register one time. It's not like a reoccurring revenue model. And since airlines are very dependent on the prices of commodities, right? So I don't really want to invest into a business that is so dependent on commodity prices, and it's not like they can invent a new product. You know what I mean? So for example, if you're Microsoft, right? You know, you started off by, selling your Windows software. And then Microsoft broke off to building a cloud, right? So they have their Microsoft Azure unit. So there's multiple different products and services that can be invented to drive revenue. And now with their cloud computing unit, they're actually trying to break that off and derive revenue out of something called managed Kubernetes. And Kubernetes is a different form of cloud computing, which we'll talk about on a different stream. And that is when we move the cloud from infrastructure as a service, or IaaS is the acronym, infrastructure as a service, to edge computing, Kubernetes, and containerization of the cloud. But that's going to be a whole other topic for another stream. So when I'm making an investment, I want to invest in a company that's going to grow and that's going to grow their profits. An airline, I mean, like what more can they do except fly me from New York to Miami? So maybe they'll trade it like a relative valuation, but it's just not my thing, in my opinion. Hopefully that answers your question, but it is a good question. It gets me thinking, and I think it's good to sort of theorize about that kind of stuff. A different take says, should airlines diversify then? No, I think it's just like a business. That's their business. It's not a super high revenue and growth business. You know, I compare it to people that say, oh, I got to buy gold mining stocks. Hey, Lobo or Lee Bo, subscribe. Thank you, Lee. Appreciate it. Can we talk about WeWork, their business model? Yes, will they ever get out of the red? Hey, photos from around New York, great topic. I have unbelievable stories about WeWork. I kind of want to save that for another stream. So my office used to be the same exact office as Adam, which was the CEO of WeWork, and Marcelo. And I was in the office with him the same night WeWork's IPO failed and crumbled. And it was a very, very tense situation because my company at the time was owned by SoftBank. And SoftBank is a Japanese conglomerate. SoftBank is a Japanese conglomerate company that invests into multiple different tech startups So if you think about the SoftBank Vision Fund, they're invested into Alibaba, which was one of Masayoshi Son's biggest winners. They're invested into WeWork. They were invested into Sprint. They owned a large majority of Sprint, in which they sold during the T-Mobile merger and acquisition. And their office was at 1166 Avenue of America. But I think WeWork can turn itself around. I really do, because the future of work, I think, is going to be a hybrid model. So not only, going into the office, but, if I'm a big software company, why am I going to sign a 36-month lease? I'll just do month to month at an office like WeWork. Hey, Super Friends is here. Fernando's here. What's up, Fernando? Fernando, we're still having issues with the stream. Streamlabs I'm using, but Prism is down. I'm not sure if you're having issues with that, Fernando, but Prism is down. I saw someone's comment about Wells Fargo, but I'm unable to read that comment. So if you want to post the comment again, I would be more than happy to read that. It's just, so if I'm missing anybody's comments, it's because the chat is really terrible and we're on a terrible stream platform. But I appreciate everybody that's a new subscriber. I see everybody, all the notifications for new subscribers. So thank you guys. I appreciate it. And hopefully we can get the stream up and running again soon. Hey, the ABX girl is still here. Fernando, are you working tonight? Are you on the Upper West Side, or are you in Brooklyn? Hey, Southern Cuban Vibes is here. What's up? So now we're on East 8th Street. This is kind of cool with the graffiti. Oh, Super Friend says I'm at work. Nice. I think this looks like a cool picture right here. What do you guys think? Ali Avzar. Hey, Ali Avzar. The Magic Was says, I subscribed. Oh, thank you so much. The Magic, I appreciate that. Thank you so much for being here. I really, really appreciate it. I really like this view right here. I asked about it be dangerous territory to invest in bank stocks like Chase or Wells Fargo, being that they are banks. Being the way banks are. I mean, so I think that it's good to have a little bit of exposure to the financial sector, but I also think over the long term, like I'm talking like extremely, extremely long term, I think the banking sector is probably the most ripe for disruption. So I would much rather invest into a fintech company like a Square or something like that, as opposed to a traditional bank, because I think over the next 20 years, a lot of the banking activity will be done online, even in your traditional investment banking sense. So in terms of deal structure, merger and acquisition, I do believe within our lifetime, a lot of that process will be automated, but we'll see. We'll see. So if anybody's interested in reading some books about investments, the Nightbot just dropped some. Some of my favorite books about investments are Common Stocks and Uncommon Profits by Phil Fisher, which is another great one. Hey, NYC Cherry Groove is here. What's up, NYC Cherry Groove? NYC Cherry Groove, the stream is still messed up, so I apologize. I saw your name, I saw you were on the chat last night, so I apologize I couldn't talk to you. But now we are back to normal, or somewhat normalcy. So NYC Cherry Groove, I hope you're having a great week, my friend. How was your 4th of July weekend? But Cherry Groove, I couldn't see your comment. It went away so quick. Humble. Humble. What is humble? Tom, I hope one of your show topics will be thoughts on business selling SaaS to B2B. Businesses selling SaaS to B2B. Businesses selling SaaS. Oh, like business to business software sales. Yeah, that's what I did. I made it. I think that's a great career path to go down. Software as a service. So SaaS, or the acronym is SaaS, stands for Software as a Service. So one of the biggest software as a service companies out there is Salesforce. A lot of these cybersecurity companies are software as a service, right? So I think the SaaS business model is one of the greatest breakthroughs ever. Revis says, I downloaded Common Stocks and Uncommon Profits on Hoopla. It's free. All of these stocks, all of these books are free, which is great. But yeah, so if anybody's interested in tech, you could work at a software startup and you could sell SaaS B2B, or business to business sales, selling software, and you make a lot of money. You make a killing doing that because it's a very, very high margin business. If you think about all software is, NYC Cherry Group says, Humble is like a new PayPal. I've heard of Toast, which is not public, but a couple of my friends that are work at some VC firms are invested in a company called Toast. I don't know if I was allowed to say that, but yeah, Toast. But I've never heard of it, NYC Cherry Group. I'm gonna have to check it out. But software is a very high margin business, right? Because you just have to pay developers to make the software, and then you could sell it and multi-purpose and distribute it in a very easy way through the cloud. And you really only need to manage it and make updates. So it's an extremely high margin business. I really want to get into SaaS. I see the potential. Zap Allen, I'm not sure. So are you, and you don't have to answer this, are you a college student or are you out of college now? Just shoot me an email, wallstreetskatebro@gmail.com. That's the industry I was in. We did very well selling software. And if anybody wants to work at a software company, the number one way to do that is by networking and getting referrals. So if anybody's coming out of college or trying to make a career change, shoot me an email and I'll try to put you in touch with some of my friends that work at some of the biggest SaaS companies in the United States, and maybe they could provide you with a referral link or something like that to an account executive position or an enterprise account executive position. If you're interested in sales, if you're interested in engineering, and if you're a good engineer, you could be a SWE or a software engineer, something like that, which is also very lucrative jobs. One of the companies, Zap Allen, that I was going to work at is a company called Twilio, which is a unified communications as a service. Well, UCAS would really be like a Ring Central or an 8x8. Not so much Twilio.
It's better to spell like this way. Yeah.
NYC Cherry Group says Tom is crapping on my portfolio. I don't even know if it's a publicly traded company. I've never heard of it, Cherry Group. Sorry about that. But we're in Washington Square Park. We are in Washington. Probably it's a good company. I don't know. I'll have to check it out. Could you post in the chat, NYC Cherry Group, the ticker symbol? If you can tell me the ticker symbol, I'll do some research and I'll talk about it as a topic on the next stream. I'll model the whole thing and everything. NYC Cherry Group, that company that's like PayPal, if you send me the ticker symbol in the chat, I'll take a screenshot and I'll even do my financial modeling on it. I'll model the whole thing. I'll do a discounted cash flow model, the whole nine, and I'll email it to you. It may take me a week, HMBL. Okay, let me take a screenshot. So we're in Washington Square Park. But once again, thank you everybody for joining. I appreciate it. Thank you to all the new subscribers. I may sit down just for 2 seconds and catch my breath. Oh man, wow. So Washington Square Park is extremely quiet. Solo 401 says take a load off, bro. I appreciate that, Solo 401. Solo 401 is our pal from Rhode Island. Hey, the Swan says I just can't get grips with people hanging out at this hour of the night. Geez, what kind of world am I living in? The Swan, it's great. It's a fun time. Sierra Francis, hope you're having a great night, Tom. Appreciate that, Sierra. Hope you are too. We're here at New York University, right here at Washington Square Park. I really wish I brought the skateboard tonight, but the Weather Channel said otherwise. Champagne says, Tom, they make you walk with an umbrella for nothing. I know, Champagne. I wish I brought the skateboard tonight, but unfortunately we didn't. Photos from around New York. Have you heard of the book Stocks for the Long Run by Jeremy Siegel? I think I have, but I've never read it. I'll check it out though. I'm definitely going to check it out. But for anybody that sort of missed the last stream, if you do !AKRE in the chat, you'll get to see Victoria Greco says, Tom, what do you do for a living? I sell software. I'm in tech sales. Gerald Lee says, looks nice tonight, no crowd. But Victoria Greco, I am in tech sales here in New York. And at my previous job, I mainly sold software and tech into the healthcare field. So I would sell a lot of electronic visit verification and medical records platforms to hospitals, home healthcare agencies, and nursing homes. So if you think about like a New York Presbyterian, NYU Langone, that is sort of where I sold software into. So originally I wanted to work on Wall Street when I came out of college, but then all of my friends are either working at Wall Street at the big investment banks. But then sort of the tables have turned and everybody started to work at tech at the big FANG companies. So a lot of my friends went to work at like Netflix as a software engineer. A couple of my friends went to work in sales at Salesforce, at Oracle, at Atlassian, companies like that. So that's sort of the route I went down. But in college, I did a very small internship as an equity research analyst intern at the London FinTech Fund, which was a hedge fund that was focused on investing into artificial intelligence and fintech companies, which actually turned out to never got off the ground. So I guess you can call him a portfolio manager, but he never really managed a portfolio per se, because he was essentially trying to raise about $20 million, and he was successful in raising half of that. But then there was a big debacle that went on. But the portfolio manager, his name is Naeem Salam, and he actually is a contributor to Forbes. And so a lot of the articles that I wrote for our fund are published in Forbes if you guys want to go check them out. So Naeem Aslam, and he was the former trader at BNY Mellon. So I would write a lot of articles on like fintech companies and do some analysis. But the fund never got off the ground. But he still runs his own money, and he's a contributor in Forbes. So maybe I'll have the Nightbot post a link to some of the articles that I wrote, because they're up there. They're still up there in Forbes. Gerald Lee says, I'm good, Fernando. Yeah, Fire Island, great time. Love Fire Island. NYC Cherry Groove says, how did you get into finance coming from a criminal justice school? Great question. So if you listen to the podcast I was on, Akram's Razor, I had like a very, very interesting story. I wanted to be a police officer in the NYPD. I was actually chosen to be in the 2018 NYPD Academy. But I did a bunch of internships when I was in college, and all my friends were getting internships at, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan as investment banking analysts in M&A and sales and trading. But for me, I was getting terrible grades, so I actually got an internship at a rental car place, and it's ironic that we're passing it right now. I got an internship at Enterprise Rent-A-Car on the Upper West Side of Manhattan at 83rd Street between Amsterdam and Columbus Avenue. And I was so upset, and I was almost jealous of all my friends getting these unbelievable internships, and here I was working at a car company. But every morning, my clientele that would come in that would rent cars from me would be some of the biggest portfolio managers on Wall Street. So I had a guy I guess I can't say his name, but he ran the Abraj group. So Abraj. And Abraj actually went out of business, and a couple of the founders are in prison. So if anybody wants to look up that story about the Abraj group, I was actually friends with the two head guys at the Abraj group. And they would always come in, and I would provide them unbelievable customer service, and I would always talk to them about stocks and investing. And I'm like, hey, I'm really hungry. I want to work on Wall Street. And they actually said, Tom, in my opinion, go work in software sales. You'll make a lot more money. So from there, I applied to all of these software companies. And I'm like, okay, well, if all of these guys that are working on Wall Street are saying I have the personality for sales, they said, go sell a good product, a good software product, and you'll make a lot of money. And so that's what I did. I went into software sales. So a little bit of a backwards, wonky story there, but I think it's just about just trying to make as many relationships as possible, because I would have people from, Fisher Investments come in, from a Abraj Group come in, and these guys would all rent cars for me. And I would see where they would work, and I was an 18-year-old kid, so I would just talk to them and say, hey, I'm really interested in breaking onto Wall Street, but I'm at a criminal justice school. What do you think I should do? And they told me to go sell software. So I was like, all right, I'll give it a shot. So I went to work in tech. But my original goals is I wanted to work in the NYPD in a counterterrorism unit or the emergency service unit. That's what I really wanted to do. And then I minored in economics and forensic accounting. So I was like, okay, maybe if I minor in economics and forensic accounting, I could maybe one day break onto Wall Street or work for the government to track money laundering. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. So I think it just goes to show you never really know where you're going to end up in life. I don't think anybody does. But it's a beautiful night here in the city, really nice. Victoria Greco says, awesome, Tom. Thank you for sharing. Gerald Lee says, you would have made a good cop, Tom. You would have been compassionate type cop. Absolutely. Gotta be compassionate. A different take says, did you ever find yourself up at Bloomberg's building doing research or networking? It is a great or cool place. I've never been to Bloomberg's building. A different take. I've never been there. It's interesting. But I believe that's on the Upper East Side. But no, I never found myself up there. So we're on Tompkins Street. Victoria says, I can't believe you wanted to become a cop. I know. So I come from a very lower middle class family on Long Island. And for anybody who's familiar with Long Island, it's either you're extremely rich, or you're just trying to scrape by and you're a blue collar worker. And that's what my parents were. So they're like, look, if you want to be in New York City, You got to get a job with a pension that's secure. So that's really the only reason why I wanted to be a cop, is because that's what I always heard growing up, is that you got to get a pension. But then I think when you go to college and you experience new things, and especially living in New York City, you get to understand the, sort of the world of opportunity that's out there, if that makes sense. Lady Orleans says, Tom, I'm glad you chose a different path. My grandfather was a sheriff when he was a kid. Oh, when you were a kid, Zap Allen, nice. Cosmo Scares says, interesting story, Tom, appreciate it. Yeah, I think what you'll find is that when you go off to college, or at least just live on your own and you get to explore things, you'll really understand the land and the world of opportunity out there. And you're like, I'm not just going to settle for this. Look at all the opportunity out in the world. Look at all the things I could try. I'm not just going to. And there's nothing wrong with being a police officer. A lot of my friends are cops here in the city. NYC Cherry Groove says, oh, NYC Cherry Groove, you gotta let me know when you're doing that. I want to jump on. Cosmo Scares says, I need to explore. Yeah, Cosmo, if you're young, man, if you're under 30 or 35, you just got to try as many things as possible. Just don't even think. Just try as many things, different things, and just meet as many people as you can. That's the only thing I would say. It doesn't really matter what you do. You just got to network and meet as many people as possible. Because you never know who you're going to run into. You never know. Like, I was working at a rental car company, and I was so upset. I was like, wow, I'm such a loser. I can't believe I'm just having an internship at a rental car company. But I'm like, you know what? Instead of complaining about it, I'm going to make the most of it. And the people who were walking through the door of that rental car place were some of the most powerful people in the city. So, if they see an 18-year-old kid that's hungry and that wants to learn and that's interested and that provides good customer service, they're going to help you out. They'll be willing to help you out. And a lot of the people I met there, I still know today. As strange as that seems. Oh, Cosmo, you're 23. You're a kid, bro. Cosmo, you should be crushing around the city, doing everything you can, man. Just go meet people. Just get a trillion different internships, jobs. Just try things, man. You're young. If you do a zillion different things and none of them work out, and you wake up and you're 30, you're still young and you're still early. So it doesn't matter. So you could try to do 60 million different things and blow yourself up a million times, and you'll still be young. I wish I was 23. I'd give anything to be 23. Hey, girl in the curls here. What's up? Colt had surgery. Everything went well. Should be coming home next week. Wow. Champagne says, Tom, how old are you, Tom? I am 26. I just turned 26 at the end of May. Oh, Cosmo. Yeah, and you live in... So, Cosmo, think about what an asymmetrical trade that is, man. Like, think about what a crazy asymmetrical risk-reward trade is that. Victoria Greco says, how old are you? I'm 26. 26. I just turned 26. Cosmo, you're 23 years old, and you live in the biggest economic powerhouse city on the planet. Cherry Groove says, Tom is an old man at 25. No, Cherry Groove, I'm even older now. I just turned 26 at the end of May on the 25th. I'm even older. But Cosmo, think about that. You're 23. You're young in the greatest city on earth where the most economic activity happens. It's not even close. This city has the most economic activity or the most economic output out of anywhere on the planet, and you're here, my friend. Go out and get it. That's what I'd say. That's what I think about all the time. I'm like, how lucky am I? I'm 26 years old. I'm born in the greatest city in the world. Like I couldn't have hit the lottery better. Like you couldn't have hit the lottery any better. You know how many people are like dying to get into the United States and dying to get into New York City or just visit here one time? So there's tons of opportunity here. New York City, it's awesome. So Cosmo, I'm excited for you, man. I wish I could be Cosmo right now. I'm 23. I wish I could be Cosmo. Victoria Greco says, I'm 28 and feel like a damn grandma. Ireva says, I was not smart with finance at 23. I don't really think anybody is, Ireva. I think everybody's kind of stupid, does stupid things at 23. Cosmo Scares says, I appreciate it, Tom. Sometimes I don't realize. Yeah. NYC Cherry Group says, I knew everything at 23. Now I know nothing. That's funny. Yeah, I think if you just can create situational awareness and just think, look at the opportunity I have. It's endless. I think the moment I realized how lucky I was is when I went to college at John Jay College of Criminal Justice. And I believe it, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it's the most diverse CUNY school in the city. We had students from all over the world. And on my soccer team, we had students from Senegal. We had students from China, from Japan, everywhere, from Egypt, Colombia. And a lot of these students were only here temporarily, and they would just say, I cannot believe New York City. It's so great. It's amazing. I want to stay here, but unfortunately I have to go back. And they would just always say, I just want to be able to work here. I just want to be able to work here and just stay here. And they would say, you're so lucky that you get to be here. And it made me think of like sometimes how selfish that I could be and complaining about, waking up early to go to the subway or something when these people, that's all they want to do is just come to the United States and work and produce and have a better life. And here I am complaining. I sometimes disgust myself. Daniel G says, I were 23 again. Yeah, so the comments are going way too fast. So if I don't read the comments, I apologize. And when I got to work, when I worked at a tech company, a lot of my coworkers were here on H-1B visa. So that means at the conclusion of the H-1B visa, if they wanted to work somewhere else, they had to go back. They had to go back to their country. And they're like, I don't want to go back. I want to stay here. And the visa is such a nightmare. So, I mean, I'm lucky I'm here. Very appreciative to be in New York. Out and About. Hey, Out and About's here. What's up, Out and About? So everybody, my phone is on 10% battery, so I apologize. So the phone is probably going to die, but if it does, I really do appreciate everybody being here. Thank you so much for all the new subscribers. Girl in the Curl says, you are very lucky and you are a really nice person. Thank you. I appreciate that, Girl in the Curl. I appreciate that. But everybody, if the phone dies, thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate it. Apologies again for the stream, that the chat is in the middle of the thing. Hey, Reels is here. What's good, Tom? Late to the party. Never late when Reels shows up. It's always just beginning when Reels shows up. So everybody, if you like this kind of content, feel free to leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel. Champagne, thank you so much for being here. But yeah, the phone's gonna die. So sorry about no skateboard tonight. I thought it was gonna rain. I don't like bringing the skateboard out in the rain. I don't wanna hurt myself. But I appreciate it. Mark Davis says, you're in a great career, Tom. Keep doing what you're doing. Mark Davis, you too. So Mark Davis is our pal from Toronto, Canada, that is in the medical marijuana space. So Mark's doing some amazing things for society. So kudos to Mark Davis in Canada. He's awesome. photos from around New York. If anybody wants to see some amazing photos from around New York, check out Photos from Around New York on Instagram. Check out Reels. He also streams, and check out Out and About. I believe if you do !out, it'll bring you to a link to Out and About's channel, as well as Fernando and Reels. Gerald says 10% on your phone, you have another hour, I know. Sierra Friend says, have a great night, Tom. Thanks for the stream. No problem, Sierra. Hey, Destiny Calderon's here. Mark Davis says, thank you so much, Tom. Appreciate it. I thought you have a battery pack. No, Out and About, I gotta get one. Hey, Destiny Calderon is here. What's up, Destiny? Daniel G says, this channel is more interesting day by day. Appreciate that, Daniel G. So Daniel G, again, I've said he is our pal from Argentina, Buenos Aires. Using Prism or another software, you have Reels. Prism is down, so we're actually using Streamlabs, which is pretty terrible, but we're doing the best we can. Hey, Ibrahim. Ibrahim is here. I think Ibrahim is the youngest on the stream. But what's up, Ibrahim? Long time no see, my friend. Choo Choo Lady J, thank you for joining. I appreciate everybody. Lady Orleans, thank you so much. I appreciate it. NYC Cherry Group, thank you. Lady Orleans says, Tom, what time do you have to be at work? Tomorrow, I actually have a crazy day. You should see my calendar. I think I'm gonna sleep in. I'm gonna sleep until about 8:30, and then at 9:30 I have my first call. So let's say about 9 o'clock. Let's say 9 o'clock I gotta be at work. Hey, Miguel. Michael DaCosta, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Sunshine After Rain, Sunshine New York. Thank you, everybody. Sam, thank you. So our Canadian group, we have a big Canadian group on the stream. Sam, Toronto. Out and About, Toronto. And who's the third? Oh, come on, Mark Davis. So we have a Canadian trio, the Canadian Triage. The Wall Street Skate Bro Canadian Triage. We love Canada. Love Canada. You guys have to come down to across the border in New York, and we will maybe go to a Rangers game. That'd be dope. With the Canadian Triage. Toronto Triage. There we go, Reels. The Toronto trifecta. See, I think Americans and Canadians have a really good relationship because everybody thinks of us as like the same country. I pretty much think of Canada and the United States as like the same thing. One of my good friends always goes to, he's like, oh, I'm leaving the country. I'm like, oh, where are you going? He's like, yeah, I'm going to go up to Toronto to visit some of my friends. I'm like, dude, it's the same thing, man. Yeah, but hopefully when they open the border, I can get back up to Canada. I haven't been to Niagara Falls in a long time. I'd really like to go again. I really, really would like to go again. But I want to go to the Canadian side. But I don't even think I'm allowed to right now, right? Is the Canadian border open? I'm actually not sure about that. Does anybody know? So I think I've told everybody multiple times on the stream, but the only time that I've ever been to Canada, I went to a baseball game, the Toronto Blue Jays. And the stadium was so cool. I was so little, I don't really remember most of it, but I just remember the stadium being amazing and the city being so clean. And I think I went up into the CN Tower, is it called? CN? And the baseball game was in a big dome, and the roof opened and closed. I couldn't even believe it. Hey, May's here. What's up, May? Reels, what's going on, man? Super Friends Fernando is here, so please check him out too. Fernando is in Fire Island, which is beautiful, beautiful on Long Island. So if anybody wants to check out what Fire Island looks like on Long Island, please check out Super Friends in the City. Harley to Die for is positive about rainstorm, clean up the filthy city. Yeah, that's actually true. That's very true. It always looks amazing after it rains. So Harley to Die for, very good observation. Oh, out and about to Sky Dome, now called the Rogers Dome. Is that for, Rogers Telecom? I'm doing some deals with Rogers Telecom. Sam says, I would love to go to MSG for a Leafs and Rangers game. Let's do it. When the Canadian border opens, let's do it. I'll go to a Rangers game. Cosmo Scary says, I went to Fire Island and found a tick on me. Lucky I didn't get bit. That's true. So if anybody's not from Long Island, New York, please be careful of the ticks. You can get Lyme's disease. It's a real thing. It's very, very dangerous. You can get Lyme's disease from the ticks. So please, if you go to Long Island, bring your tick spray. All right, everybody, I'm on 1% battery, literally 1%. So if anybody was interested in the topic of the day, you could type it into the chat. Check out Investors Business Daily. And topic of the day today was the Akre Focus Fund. So if you type in !AKRE, and if you want to rewatch the stream, you can go into our entire conversation about it. But more importantly, you can read the article and the interview for free online. I'm sure you'll learn a lot. The Akre Focus Fund, very, very high concentration of equities within that fund into very good fundamental growth companies that are growing their earnings and their sales. Hey, Sunshine, welcome. So now we are in Union Square, right here. So hopefully tomorrow it's going to be very clear so we could get back on the skateboard and ride around. If it's clear tomorrow on the skateboard, I want to go to the Brooklyn Bridge. So maybe we'll skateboard to the Brooklyn Bridge, hopefully. Daniel G says off to bed. Good night, everybody. Good night, Tom. All right, Daniel, take it easy, my friend. Sending my well wishes to Argentina. Reels to spam that like button. Yeah, I appreciate it, everybody. So if you like this content, please feel free to leave a like and subscribe to the channel, because we skateboard around New York City and we talk about all types of things, but mainly investments. I try to do at least one topic of the day and provide you guys with some free resources that I find helpful. And then we talk about good coffee shops and good restaurants in the city, and then we usually talk about Canadians and people from Chile. We have a big diverse group, big diversity here on